In this video, let's talk Kaido. Kaido might be the strongest character in Wano right now, maybe even the strongest character alive in the One Piece verse as of the moment. Well, that's a controversial thing to say, yes, but that's just my opinion based on the information that we have at present. He's always going to win one-on-one, so it would make sense that no one alive could take him down alone. So, he's basically stronger than everybody else at the current time of the One Piece world. Anyway, the Scabbards have him pinned down along with Jack. I believe that Jack went down a little bit too early. Even if Nekomamushi and Inuarashi have become albino, assuming they're all white as well, like Pecoms and Carrot have become back in the Whole Cake Island arc. Just to recap, back in Zou, they fought Jack one-on-one. I'm sure everybody remembers that. And they couldn't bring Jack down. They dealt very minimal damage to him and fought him for several days, suggesting they were quite equal to him one-on-one. Obviously, Jack had more stamina compared to them since he didn't really take any breaks during that fight until he got impatient and took them all down with the sledgehammer. No, the poison gas that Caesar developed. Now, we see the musketeers able to deal a pretty significant amount of damage to him. Granted, there are more of them, but Jack still won against them. He fought against Neko and Inu in their Sulong forms, so he ultimately got defeated. I actually believed that Jack would hold up until around chapter 994 or 95. Oda really pulled a fast one on us, but that just speaks to the actual strength of Sulong Cat and Dog, which I believe to be strong enough to deal significant damage to Kaido before they get beaten up or too exhausted to help. Just like what happened to Carrot during her fight against the whole fleet of Daifuku in the Whole Cake Island arc. So I think it would happen in somewhat a similar way. I believe that Sulong, Inu, and Neko would fall to Kaido and they would get super exhausted in the process, so they won't be able to help in a few more chapters. I do think that these two have more stamina compared to the Musketeers and the Guardians, and they would be able to do more with what they have. Obviously, because they're stronger than any of the other minks, and I think that they could sustain this form for much longer than the normal mink could. And I think because of the situation on the rooftop being a 1 versus 9, I believe that Kaido would outlast the Sulong bosses after at least one full chapter showing their fight. Those two would be running on empty and would need to rest but not necessarily defeated, leaving the other 7 to fend for themselves and fight against Kaido on their own. I believe that their fight would be prolonged, and until they finally get defeated or at least beaten down and saved by either Kid, Luffy, or Marco. So let me explain why. We all know that the Scabbards have dealt more wounds to Kaido in just the past 6 or 7 chapters than Kaido received during his whole lifetime. So this is now a pretty common topic in the recent One Piece conversations that I've had, whether it's in groups or even in friends or on the comment section on the previous videos. Most of my friends love the fact that we're seeing this happening right now. A few don't like it. Some feel that this is inconsistent with what Oda had portrayed Kaido as being previously. Some are confused because of how easily Kaido got wounded despite his reputation. And when I hear some of the opinions of the community, I really get a bigger picture about this whole thing. And I get it. Kaido is supposed to be invulnerable, damn near invincible, unkillable even. I really got to thinking when I heard the question, why couldn't the Marines just let the admirals kill off Kaido? Personally, I think that question makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. We know that he was hanged They tried the guillotine on him, but it was never really mentioned that the Marines sent an admiral level character to execute him. Maybe the Marines settled for the usual methods of execution done by the lower ranking Marines, whether it's by sword, whether it's by guillotine, whether it's by hanging, and we don't know. But that's a really good point. I think that admirals could use Ryo as well. I mean, Sentomaru was mentioned as having this ability, so I doubt that admiral level talent or admiral level characters couldn't use it. We don't know if the scene that the three admirals raising their arms up and protecting the execution platform that Ace was in back in the Marineford War is actually Ryuo, and if it was, well, they can definitely deal damage to Kaido. So it is quite inconsistent if you think about it, and using the traditional execution method on Kaido is pretty much the only reason I could think of at the moment. Obviously, the admirals could have learned the Ryuo past the time that Kaido was captured, all of that plot convenience stuff. But anyway, this is pretty much the only reason that I could think of at the moment why the Marines never used Admiral level talent to kill off Kaido. I think it's a pretty lame excuse, but it's definitely usable for plot convenience in Oda's case. So I thought about other reasons why Oda made such a thing, and I feel like this whole situation is a combination of Ryuo and Kaido's past experiences of being unkillable. Previously, only Odin was able to give him a wound, but that's because Odin knew Ryuo. It would make sense that his samurai could deal damage to Kaido because, well, he taught them how. Kaido didn't know that until the scabbards wrecked him, right? And it just so happens that their battle 20 something years ago was cut short because of a little sleight of hand, which Kaido capitalized on. Since that's still a pirate fight, it would make sense that not everybody in the pirating world would be as honorable as Luffy is, right? Obviously, Kaido didn't like it when we learned what he did to the characters that probably damaged his pride as a warrior, but still, a win is a win. And to be frank, I think that that move was smart. If Kaido was looking to cut his losses or casualties like that, so I think that's a really smart move. Because we know that Kaido felt that Odin had the upper hand at some point earlier. If they fought, he felt like Odin would win. And that a full-on fight would make him lose a lot of his forces. So this is really a logical thing, or it really does make sense to me why it had to happen this way. Obviously, Oda really wanted to save Kaido and use him to build up how strong and how massive the gap is between a Yonko and other pirates in the One Piece world. So, yeah, it really does make sense to me, and I really do appreciate it. But moving forward, since the Scabbards knew Ryuo, and most of them were able to do damage to Kaido, it would be logical to assume that Ryuo is the answer to breaking through and wounding Kaido. Maybe even Big Mom, since this advanced application of Haki is something that seems hard enough to attain, even with the knowledge of using basic Haki, and even with years of practice using basic Haki. There should be a very small number of people that know about it, let alone control it. And with that said, Kaido may very well be considered lucky, right? In the sense that he may have only encountered one person that uses Ryo in his whole lifetime, which was Odin, and is the only reason that he only took one slash from Odin with the expectation that he would just brush it off like he always does. Because his past experiences told him that everything does not work, right? He could have let his guard down, and that was the result. Yes, I think that Oden is more than capable of getting a hit on Kaido, even if Kaido was guarding himself. But this is something that Oda could use as plot convenience as well to make it consistent with the previous build-up that Kaido was invulnerable or near invulnerable. Now, if he fought against characters like Garp, then he could have gotten damage but not actual wounds that would scar him for life, since Garp uses his fists. Then it would make sense that Ryuo damages the target from within, much like how Fishman Karate works, right? And just like how this picture works, where Luffy was practicing Ryuo on a tree. Because if the flow is like a wave that crashes onto the target, then this tree would have the side that is facing Luffy blown off first. But we see here that the center of the tree took the most of the impact. Basically, it looks like it was damaged from the inside. And I'm actually excited to see if Jinbei could do some damage to Big Mom or Kaido with his techniques. He was overwhelmed back in Whole Cake Island, so I would love to see Jinbei fight against Big Mom and Kaido in the Wano arc. Now, we also have to remember that Kaido was part of the Rocks Pirates. And since he was part of this legendary crew, even if he encountered characters that had Ryuo, and let's face it, how many characters do know Ryuo, especially in the past? We only know for certain that Rayleigh, obviously Roger, Whitebeard, probably Garp, and Sengoku maybe know Ryuo. And that's just a small handful of characters that I took at least 10 seconds of thinking about. I even mentioned Whitebeard, which was a crewmate of Kaido. So even if these people, or even if there were characters that Kaido encountered that knew Ryuo, he had other characters that could protect him from being the victim of the attacks that were imbued with Ryuo, right? That was a legendary crew. So that's another reason why Kaido could have gotten only a few slashes or just one slash. Moving on though, let's talk characters that can deal damage to Kaido. I think that Kaido and Big Mom might get surrounded by enemies at the end of the war, and it's gonna be Yonkos against everybody else. I just feel like even though Luffy and Kid would like to fight them one-on-one, it's going to be inevitable that everybody will need to take a crack at Kaido and Big Mom. I feel like Kid can't really damage Kaido right now. NANI? I'm sorry to all Kid fans out there. Yeah, maybe he got his training just like Luffy did when they were in prison, but I highly doubt if he learned how to use Ryuo, right? Where could he see it? We don't know if he saw anybody use Ryuo. So I really doubt if he learned to use Ryuo on his own. But he's basically a Yonko Commander level character. Now, Law might be a different case. Attacks made in his room might be able to do some work on Kaido. Maybe not to the extent that it would deal significant, massive damage, but maybe it could. Maybe something like the Gamma Knife technique or maybe even the injection shot. I think that those two attacks are the stronger attacks that Law has, and the Gamma Knife or maybe even the Radio Knife have a different way of cutting the opponent or the victim. And the injection shot is an attack that focuses on the insides of the target. So those might deal some damage to Kaido. Moving past that, Marco might not know Ryuo, but he's basically a Yonko Commander level character, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Even though he wasn't really able to take Sakazuki on back in the Marineford War, so I feel like his attacks aren't going to be as effective against Kaido. Hopefully, I'm wrong, and I would love to see him get some Ws, especially because of the Ls that he took in the Marineford War, as well as in the Payback War. Now, we all know that some of the scabbards were able to damage Kaido, Kinemon and Kiku, right? Kawamatsu also knows Ryuo, so I'm sure that he could damage Kaido as well. And really, the only scabbard that clearly wasn't able to deal damage to Kaido was Raizo, because he went for Kaido's neck, but we see there that there were no wounds on Kaido's neck region. So I feel like either Raizo doesn't know Ryuo, or he needs to use bigger attacks so he could deal damage to Kaido. Those are the only two reasons that I could come up with why he wasn't able to deal damage to Kaido. Because he's a ninja, and he might need a different set of skills rather than using or learning Ryuo. For the Straw Hats, it would be safe to assume that Zoro and Luffy are our best bets. Jinbei's Fishman Karate is interesting too, so I feel like they are the three Straw Hats that are able to help immensely and deal damage to both Yonko. We don't know if Sanji could accomplish that same feat without utilizing Ryuo. I apologize to all Sanji fans out there. Sanji is actually my second favorite character next to Luffy. So I'm basically one of you guys. But I'm being candid here, and this is my straight up opinion. So hopefully I'm wrong as well. The raid suit with Diabol Jambe and infused with Haki is a massive, massive attack. I'm sure it deals a lot of damage. And with the added speed of the raid suit and Sanji's innate speed, obviously all of these factors put together could deal massive damage. We just don't know if it would be enough to go through Kaido's tough skin. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Also, I would love to see Oda draw Kaido and Big Mom being surrounded by all of their enemies. Just imagining it really excites me. An angry, bleeding blue dragon in the night sky roaring. Wait, I think it would be more epic if Kaido was laughing in that moment. He goes, "Wararararara. You think because you have the numbers you're gonna win? Guess again, children."
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Then all hell breaks loose. And by all hell breaking loose, I mean my very subpar impersonation of Kaido's laugh and his voice. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the video as well. Crush the like button forcefully as if you were Kaido crushing his enemies, and comment down below who you think can deal damage to Kaido. Subscribe to the channel so it could grow, and I can continue to provide you with that One Piece content that you really, really want. And as always, stay safe. Peace.